My name is Edward Nyakun. The headwinds of the Omicron virus is blowing strongly across the globe, but economies like Ghana are expected to shrug off these challenges and continue to grow because in 2021, Ghana's economy was projected to grow by 4.4%. And we're going to look at 2022. What are the areas that are going to pull the surprises in terms of economic growth in this country? Already in 2021, we saw Agric doing marvelously, and ICT in particular also showing the way. Well, before we continue with what we're going to discuss this evening, let's speak the biz language for this evening. Welcome back. We're going to the Ghana Stock Exchange for the midweek trading. And with me to do that is Esther. Esther, you're welcome.
Thank you, Edward. Well, it's the second day of trading as we had a holiday and yesterday we traded. So this is the second day of trading for this week. And this year, for that matter, we have the composite index going up by some 11%, 11.7%, and also the year-to-date change at negative 1.68%. For the financial stocks, it's still at 0.004 this year. In terms of trading for today, volume, we have it over 2 million shares exchange hands, and the web valued around 2.4 million Ghana cedis. The market cap is now at 64 billion. It was at 63 billion yesterday. For trading results, the only equity that registered a price change for today was MTN Ghana, and it gained a peswa. It was selling at 1 cedi 6 pesos and is now 1 cedi 7 pesos. For equities that exchange hands for today, we have Cowbank at 3,694. We have EGH didn't sell anything. We have EGL also not selling anything. ETI 40,583. Fan milk 1,659.
Ghana
200. GCB just sold one share, and Guel didn't sell anything. MTN Ghana is sold over 2 million shares, 2.3 million.
PBC about
128,600 shares.
Yes. 113 shares.
Yes, SIC nothing, TBL nothing, Unilever nothing. Yes. Right. That's about it for today.
Thank you very much for the update for the Ghana Stock Exchange. We're going for a short break. When we come back, I have with me the CEO of Ghana, that is Giftic, in the person of Salasi Kofi Akom. We're going to look at the global economy vis-a-vis Ghana and find out how things are going to pan out. Be right back. Welcome back now, Selassie Kofi Akom. Welcome. It's a pleasure hosting you once again.
Always humbled.
Great. We've seen the headwinds of Omicron blowing across the globe, latter part of the year 2021. How has this affected global economic space vis-a-vis Ghana?
Thank you very much. As usual, happy new year to your cherished viewers. It's my first time here this year. I'm very humbled that I'm making it on the first list, one of the earliest to be on your show. Let me say that your show goes wide and very far.
Thank you.
Persons that do call me, they listen to my analysis on your show. Amazing. If I mention the names to you, you would know that chief executives, MDs still watch GBC. And people, I mean, my kinsmen are watching. They call anytime I leave your show. We are very humbled at the Ghana International Trade and Finance Conference for the continuous opportunity to express our intellectual views to your viewers on issues and matters of trade, finance, logistics, and finance itself. We are humbled. I think Omicron has actually change the tone of how the globe expected the last quarter. The globe had geared in and geared on for a very unique last quarter. And if you realize from statistics and figures, economies began to shoot up gradually within the last quarter. And Ghana was not an exception. Ghana was not left aside. We are about 6.6% growth within
the third quarter.
That moment. And so it brought a lot of expectation, a lot of positive projections into many economic space across the globe. Then, pam, we're hit by Omicron from South Africa. And let me say here and now that it was a novel thing that African scientists had excelled to that level to be able to detect a new variant within the over 24-month virus that was persuading and pursuing the world negatively. It was a novel than the initial attempt that had come up to crucify the African scientists vis-a-vis the South African scientists. And if you realize, their president didn't sit down on this negative effect. In fact, he toured his compatriots around the African continent, and Ghana was privileged to have him. And when he stood shoulder by shoulder with His Excellency the President to address the nation, you would tell the frustration in the eyes of the South African head of state for the negative narrative that the excelling of the South African scientists, bona fide African scientists, had discovered. But you realize that when his compatriots on the continent decided to support his cause, the narrative changed. The narrative changed. The negative impact that the Omicron was bringing on South Africa and Africa within the Southern Zone and the entire continent changed. And so it became a matter of a global worry and not crucifying Africa and Southern Africa for that matter. And what I could tell that the obvious was that we were already suffocating from a number of variants that had halted global logistics and supply chain totally. And so revenue projections and expectation by economies within Africa and the world fell short, and Ghana was not left out. We fell short of our revenue expectation around the peak of the 24 months, which is 2 years ago. Now we are in the third year of the COVID, and due to that, you will notice that there's been hike in commodities, various commodities around the world. In fact, if you read some of our articles, you read some of our write-ups, and you read some of our paperwork, we had extensively researched, and rightly so, we had made that known to the general African community, business community, that these were affecting inflation. And inflation was rising to, a degree that was very detrimental to the lifeline of the African economy. And so the Omicron hasn't spared Africa, hasn't spared Ghana, hasn't spared the monetary and economic zone of West Africa, hasn't spared Europe either, hasn't spared America. Yesterday, for the first time, America recorded 1 million infections per day with the Omicron variant. UK is skyrocketing here and there.
So let's look at, you were talking about logistics, freights, and all those things. Last year we heard the pricing of freight shooting up. Let's look at last year and how is that going to play out in 2022?
I'm going to be honest with you, the logistical or the logistic sector of the global economy, on the continent and global economy, on the sub-regional economic bloc, which is West Africa, on Ghana's economy, has been nothing to write home about. Let me give you a typical example of what is happening in Ghana. 2 giant multimodal transport operators are almost selling off.
What are you talking about?
Yes, I'm telling you, this is, I'm sure from tomorrow going you should start hearing this. 2 giant multimodal operators are selling off. There are 2 things for we at Gatespeak after our analysis. The cost of freight has skyrocketed to the extent that people were not moving cargo again.
Wow.
And even those who were moving cargo were not getting the vessel timely. So those perishable cargoes and commodities were becoming debt to the general global trading community. And so vessel owners were losing, cargo magnates were losing, I mean, the trading community were losing, and then we, the consuming community, were made to pay higher for cost of goods and services or commodities that were relatively expected to be at a fair price. And that is how terrible the Omicron and other variants over the past 24 months has brought on the global economy. And we keep saying at the Ghana International Trade and Finance Conference that when we decide to make politics with such crucial global catastrophe, we are not doing anybody a good service. Because the reality is so clear and plain for everybody, even including consumers and our case at home, to know that why this Christmas daddy couldn't bring the 5 crates of Fanta and Coke, probably brought 1, probably brought none at all, was because he couldn't afford, or was because he couldn't even get to buy even if he had the funds or the money to buy just 1 crate. So your case at home would even question you if you have a very inquisitive one.
So these 2 multimodal companies you're talking about, in terms of employment, maybe you don't want to mention their names now.
For now.
Yes, but employment, how is it going to affect people who had been engaged by these companies?
You know that at the logistics sector of every economy, including Ghana, the intake is large. It has now become a formal sector that has a lot of employees. See, the ripple effect is very large for any freight forwarding firm that operates hand in hand with logistic giants. And so one would expect that at least within 500 to 1,000 staff could be looking at sitting home.
That's massive.
That is very massive. You want to look at the logistics sector and the ability and number of employment it generates for every economy. Our port here is not that large, but by God's grace, because it's a very crucial, strategically placed port, and we do a lot of transshipment to land-linked countries, we are able to have huge TEUs at a very given instant at all year round to clear. And so you would expect that the ripple effect on the logistics side in terms of unemployment will be catastrophic to the economy. But you see, these guys unfortunately do not list on the stock here in Ghana to even talk about. I have to stop. I'm just tempted to mention the names anyway. And so let's see how it plays. I'm sure by the close of the week, they may come out themselves, or probably next week they may come out. If they don't, you know, Gatespeak per our research, we may come out with the next paperwork and then mention probably what has led drastically to their.
All right. So let's look at 2022. The world general was talking about building back America. That was slogan of the American government, building back economies, and we are talking rebounding. To a large extent, we have done provisionally 4.4%, and the last quarter, like you said, 6.6%. That was massive, which might even exceed the 4.4% that has been projected by the government.
Really?
So if you look at the scenarios, is Ghana at the moment inflation is more than 10%.
Amazing, eh?
Yes. So if you look at the numbers and Omicron still lurking around, how is 2022 going to be if you look at it from an inflation perspective and even trying to create jobs?
The realistic may not be too much of a good news to your viewers this evening. Very sorry, per our projections and the data and figures available to us within the first quarter, because the Omicron is still lurking strongly. We anticipate it to come down between the third, fourth quarter of February to the third, fourth week of February to the first week of March. That is why even per our estimation, we had projected the 6th Ghana International Trade and Finance Conference to somewhere in May. Because by then, if you look at the dynamics, we should have picked down drastically, and then the bad negative euphoria within the Omicron may have come down for activities to start. But I can tell your viewers one positive news. If this all is said and done, the bricks of business will shoot up tremendously, because business have suffocated over a very long period of time that has deprived buying and selling, deprived movement of logistics here and there, and deprived global economy. There have been economic downturn. Do you understand? And so 2022, the first quarter may not be too much of a serious expectation. But I tell you what, the world is tired of the COVID. The world is tired of the variant. If you realize America should have shut down the economy during Christmas. The UK, their health minister and their prime minister said, we are not shutting down the economy. We are just tired of the variants. We are just tired of the COVID. And so we should start psyching ourselves to accept it as one of the flu, to start accepting it as what we've done to malaria, tuberculosis, HIV, AIDS, and live with it with caution. Because we can't continue. See, UK met herd immunity. They are still suffering. More than about 230,000 cases in a day. As I said, America yesterday, 2 days ago, 1 million cases in a day. Do you understand? It doesn't look like this is going to go off anytime soon. We need to start psyching ourselves to live with this and open up our economy. Don't forget ECOWAS at the tail end of last month, which is December, had said that by the first week of this year, which is January, we're going to open up the borders.
But it's not coming.
It's not coming on. We need to start psyching ourselves to live with the COVID-19. We've done so as humans. We've been adaptive to all of this. It's high time, and I'm grateful that this call is coming from the Western nations. If it had come from Africa, we may have been victimized again. But now it's coming from the Western nations, and so we need to psych ourselves. See, I've gone for my job. I'm sure you've done your double. I've done my double. People should go for double and expect the boosters. Let's live with it and open up our economies to the tremendous potentials that await every economy within Africa in 2022. See, the potentials, I can't list and finish right now.
Talking about the potential, the African Continental Free Trade Area took off a year by this time. In your view, how we might look at it critically, I mean, just briefly, but in your view, how has it fared?
I mean, you know that prior to the Christmas holidays, my outfit released our December paper on the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area, a year in review. And we reviewed it, our paper went very global. We received a lot of feedback from our paper. We think in some of the recommendations we made that trade ministers in Africa should take the AFCFTA very seriously, because, see, as I always say on your program, it is and has become the bloodline that flows through the vein of every African. We think that the action towards the Continental Free Trade Area by our compatriots in other African countries is not the best. So if we don't look at it holistically. For instance, we are reliably informed that there's going to be an adoptive process for the goose of origin.
The rules of origin?
Rules of origin, adoptive process for all African countries to adopt. When this is achievable, what it means is that immediately you are able to move your cargo now, because somebody in Cameroon, somebody in Bobo Dioulasso, somebody in Freetown, within the customs sector, would have known the values of every commodity. So they are going to classify the commodities within the rules of origin. We are also expecting that, for instance, our country would deposit instrument of ratification for the protocol in free movement within the African Union level, because we've already done that within the ECOWAS level, so that at least we are part of the signatories that makes a Ghanaian able to move to South Africa to seek a job or and work without going through how they call it, immigration challenges, because these are all protocols. We, per our paperwork in December, had looked on the protocol in goods in services, protocols in the goods in trade, protocols in the movement, and indeed we had strategically made some comments. And I encourage your viewers to visit our portal or visit the media front to read the paper we had put on the Continental Free Trade Area. We shouldn't undermine the Continental Free Trade Area. When we do so in our own peril, because in 2018, when the AFCFTA Afri-ESM trade fair was held in Cairo, as far back as 2018, we exceeded expectation in terms of the deals that were reached as far back in 2018 within the AFCFTA to the tune of $32 billion. As far back as 2018 in Cairo. What had just happened somewhere in November, December with the same African trade fair by Afri-ESM at Durban
in South Africa.
And South Africa had also met expectation. So it tells you that all of these gauges, these measurements that we use in measuring the viability, the potentiality of the African Continental Free Trade Area has proven positive. And so if our compatriots in other African nations do not see the seriousness, and a country like Ghana is running with this, we will hit the wall, because you move your cargo to Sierra Leone, Freetown, you are not able to enjoy the Continental Free Trade Area and enjoy up to the 90% tariff reduction, because they do not respect the tariff reduction, because they don't have an idea about it, because there's no rules of origin that classifies the goods and then the codes for them to charge. And so going forward, we think that if they will speed up, if the continent at if the continental level will speed up in channel out this classification and make sure that every state adopts that immediately and make it applicable, then we will be where we are. Let's not forget that the success of the Continental Free Trade Area is for every African. Once upon a time, we had political independence and political freedom. This is economic independence and economic freedom. We shouldn't mess up with this. It is our bloodline, and we should breathe it.
Thank you very much, Salasi Kufiakom, CEO of Gitsfik, for your time in the studio. We'll be looking at the 2022 global economic perspective, looking at Ghana as well. And we just wrap up with the AFCTA, how it's going to play out again in 2022. God willing, tomorrow we'll come your way again with another show. And we'll be looking at the poultry industry, how the Ghanaian poultry industry fared, and what is being done to ramp up production to ensure that we become sufficient to a large extent to reduce the $400 million importation bill that always we incur annually. My name is Edward Nyakun. God willing, we'll come your way again tomorrow. Shalom.